I
Yeah,
hope it's
fine.
showing okay. Okay.
We're live. Welcome to No Touch Screens, episode 26. Slowly but surely, we are gathering ground. The new season is firmly settling in across Europe. As always, I am not alone. I'm joined by Superman, Tio Eze. Tio, how now?
Well, very well, Yebi. Good to be here as usual. 26, I'm wondering. I hope you included all the various specialist
Yes, I
episodes
did.
we had within the week. Oh,
I
interesting.
did.
Okay. I expected more number, but that's still good. We are jumping,
Yeah, we're making
not walking
progress.
again. Definitely not crawling. Yeah.
All right. I have some special thank you to all those that have joined for all the special programs we've done, and of course, the guests that I've had from Nima Taveli Rosari to Derek Ray to Femi Jaman, Joseph Bassi, Wale Agbede. Who did we have again? Tim Capel, and
Yeah,
the
be
likes.
careful, I
Thank you
remember.
to
Yeah.
everybody. Yeah, and everybody that's
Thank
joined
you.
in, sent in comments. Thank you very much for staying with us. So let's get
Mhm.
into the discussion for today. So we're talking transfers first, and I will take it league by league, and I'm talking top five leagues now. No,
Okay.
let's say top four. France is not so. Nothing spectacular has happened in France in terms of
Some
transfers.
some good business,
Um,
have still happened. Neymar stayed, and
no,
Mbappe stayed. That's some business.
I beg
It's still a
you. There
factor.
was no way they were going to go in this Corona crisis. So there's no way. If Teju Savannah had moved from Montpellier somewhere
Okay.
else, I would have said that's a big deal.
That's
But
that's a big factor.
those
Okay.
guys, yeah. So let's start with England. And in your opinion, too, which transfer do you think has been the key transfer and the transfer that potentially changes the scope of the league in terms of
Big,
title chase, top four?
wow, big question, Yemi, because it's difficult to pick out just one, to pin it down to just one, because a lot of interesting transfers have happened. We've seen how Chelsea have rolled in the pound this particular window, bringing a lot of interesting talent to spice up a decent side, because I mean this side stayed in the Champions League spots for most of last season, as I always like to mention. So a decent side in a lot of respect. So Chelsea have done good business. So see Man U keep their key players, and more importantly also try to deepen the squad of some sort by bringing in Van der Beek, having that extra midfield option. Now we are not. I mean the Man U faithfuls, of course, I'm not one. But then generally, won't overly panic if Pogba, for instance, has this kind of season again, injury or whatever happens. There's someone ready-made who can step in and probably give something even more, depending. You can say about similar for Man City. Yes, Silva has not retired, but then moved on at the expiration of his contract as he wants to return home to Spain with Sociedad. But then their squad looks okay, even though I don't think they have done something to address their real problems. So maybe their plan on addressing the problems is not on the transfer front, but on the tactics, as we saw in the first game. There is a slightly different setup that also shows some more caution and respect to the good opponent that Wolves is, which we I think helped them control the game and stay out of danger at least for a good period of that game. So I think their own is not on the transfer front that they're doing it. I would have been more excited for them if they probably went all in for Koulibaly, but we know the issues they had after the Jorginho move failed have not. Both parties are still very sore, and it's not helping them carry on with the negotiations properly for Koulibaly. That would have been a big deal. Leeds United, a team that, of course, have raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people were talking about them from the tactics perspective, and we addressed them on this show too prior to the beginning of the season. Now they have done more than that, showing us also what they can do, scoring a lot of goals, but then leaking a bit too many at the back. And we are seeing them trying to address that after they lost Ben White, a key player for them last season in the championship, to the parent team. They brought in Robert Koch from Fribourg, and they are going even for that by bringing in Lorente from Sociedad, who I think is a quite a reliable defender. So I think that way, at least their back line can get some more solidity, and we could see Leeds drop the number of goals that they concede and the chances they allow opponents, which will probably help them pick even more points. So a lot of interesting transfers in the Premier League. But Yemi, addressing your question specifically, if I have to pick a particular one that has a huge bearing, I would think is Thiago Alcantara for Liverpool. Why do I think so? It is a difficult thing to improve a side like Liverpool, the side they managed to build, particularly their 11, their first 11. They've created this solid unit of excellent 11 players who went fit, and they have always been, for whatever reason, I don't know how they got off injuries, smile so well in the side of in Merseyside. But they've been fit, they've been available. And I saw a statistic that showed that Van Dijk has been available for about 95 point something percent of games since he joined. That's massive. That's incredible. Not many teams, not any player, though even Messi and Ronaldo probably are not that available. So that's what Liverpool have enjoyed, and that's part of why it's quite difficult to improve their first 11 in particular, not just the squad. And they've managed to do that by bringing in a ready-made player in Thiago Alcantara, who brings in a slightly different characteristics that I think will benefit them. We know Yemi, we've talked about it on the show, that personally, early season predictions, I felt Man City had the edge because of the number of goals they scored, including last year, where they didn't push Liverpool all the way. They create a bit too many chances that even on their bad days, they will score enough to probably pick all 3 points. Yeah, and we felt Liverpool have the problem of relying on their creativity coming from the flanks, from the two very good and effective fullbacks. But that the teams in Premier League, as we know it, will try to devise a way to make them at least think twice about continuing to be that adventurous. And we've started seeing it already. So people will try to attack those flanks. We expect to see something similar to even versus Arsenal this weekend. So I felt that if they have to rely solely on those two, that's Robertson and Trent Arnold, for their creativity, and now have only 3 hard workers in midfield, it just may not be enough to get enough goals to pick all the points that they need to pick to stay close or if not ahead of City. But Alcantara brings them something a little extra from the middle, which we felt was a big factor when we were previewing the Premier League before the start of the season. We said we needed to see something more from the midfield in terms of creative spark. Alcantara is not the man for the numbers, so he doesn't have those huge number of assists or goal contribution in general. But generally, he helps them keep the ball a lot better, picks his man a lot better, picks the right pass at the right moment, beats his man too, and things like that. So the ball retention is no longer sterile. Towards the end of last season, they get quite frustrated, even though they manage to mentally stay in the game and not allow themselves take a bit too much, too many adventures. They have a player who they can rely on to be able to also pick the right pass, at least the top pass that can now lead to an assist and then the final eventual goal. So I think the team is that I'm thinking I think truly that with Alcantara, that just maybe Liverpool have the edge again.
The network was breaking a bit there, but you still got your message across. Definitely, I agree with you that Thiago seems to be the most pivotal transfer of the window. But also, I think I'll be mentioning Gareth Bale as another very, very key piece of transfer business done this window. Bale offers Spurs a great opportunity when they set up, as we expect them to, set up to counter-attack. It's a huge outlet and it will be of huge benefit to Spurs. So I think those two transfers, Thiago and Bale, are the key transfers in the Premier League for me. Let's go to Spain.
That's big. That's big, Yemi. Just sorry to interrupt there, but then to call it again, I mean, in my early season prediction, I didn't think Spurs will be able to get into the top 4. But with that transfer, as you mentioned, and the Regulion, I think the outlook of the team looks better. They still don't impress me, despite their very wide margin win last weekend. I don't think the general play is good, but I don't think they need to play well any longer, having that level of attacking weapons and too many goal sources, as it were. So Spurs is firmly in the top 4 discussion for me, and nothing will surprise me about them finishing first this season. Same with Liverpool now. I now feel that they are favorites ahead of Man City against my earlier prediction where I thought they will do the chasing. So yes, slight changes to my early season top in the Premier League, just based on those 2 key transfers that you mentioned.
Okay. Let's go very quickly to Spain. If we're looking at pivotal transfers, I think the Spaniards have been very quiet in the window this season. But one transfer has caught everybody's eyes. Me particularly, I think it's the transfer of Luis Suarez to Atletico Madrid. I think that is a defining transfer this season.
It's match made in heaven. Match made in heaven. Yemi, I don't know what Barca we are thinking. I mean, it should be typical that a team like Barca will know who their opponents are for the title. Yes, Atleti haven't been there in terms of consistency in recent seasons, trying to stay up with the top two for most of the season. But then handing them a reliable goal scorer who they can count on to get 20 goals, even before kicking the ball this season. You can bet your money it is safe Suarez will get 20. That's a big factor. So handing that on a platter onto Atleti, I think puts them firmly in the title discussion, particularly in a season where both sides, both big two, seem to be in some sort of rebuild. Barcelona, of course, we've seen the shake-up that is happening there. They are letting go of, in quotes, the over 30 players who they think they have to move on because they've spent quite a time there. Arturo Vidal, Ivan Rakitic, trying to move on that class. But then letting Suarez also be part of that measure, that for me is a worry. I'm particularly handing it to a team I consider a direct rival to the ambitions of challenging again to snatch the title back from Madrid is a big deal. I really do think that Atleti have a man they can rely on for the goals. They can play defensive. They can sit back as they do, stay organized as they do, and the few chances they used to create, they now have someone who will bury them. I think that's a big factor. I won't be surprised again this year. Just like I thought last year that Atleti should be able to challenge for the title and maybe win it. They couldn't manage to do that last year. Now they've moved on Morata, who never really looked like a reliable number 9 in terms of goal scoring at least, and on a consistent basis. Diego Costa, who has seemingly lost his way. He's no longer the go-to man for goals in particular. Now they have someone who they can rely on for goals, and I think Atleti will be firmly in the title discussion. Nothing will surprise me about them winning La Liga because this looks like a transition year, as I already mentioned, for the top two teams here.
Yeah. For those who are wondering why the pictures might be a bit dark, it is raining heavily and it's quite cloudy. It's quite dark. So that's why the pictures are a little bit dark. I think another pivotal transfer, depending on which perspective you're looking at it from, might just be David Silva's transfer to Real Sociedad. Sociedad are a team who have ambitions of getting to the top 4, getting into the Champions League position. So I think that's another key transfer. And then the fire sale that has happened at Valencia, Parejo, Coquelin, leaving for Villarreal, has also made Villarreal also a team we need to look at critically. And then on the managerial side, not on the player side, Pellegrini, Apen, and Real Betis, I think is another key element. Whatever happens this weekend when they play Real Madrid is a different matter. Why? Because they've won back-to-back games and they've kept clean sheets.
I really think they will get all 3 points, by the way, in that particular tie. Nothing will surprise me about that happening. I really do think that they're in a good place now. They know how they want to play. And as I said already, I really think this is a transition year for Madrid. The opportunity was presented to them by Barca, not taking away their efforts for last season, of course, but Barca more than handed them the trophy in a lot of ways last season. And this year, I don't expect them to go all the way again this season for the La Liga hunt.
Let's go to Germany. The big piece of transfer for me, and unfortunately, it still has to do with Bayern. Leroy Sané, I think, is a huge piece of transfer business for Bayern Munich. Gives them that added dimension, adds a lot of pace to the team. The team had a lot of pace anyway. Now they've added additional pace to that team. And I think that they will.
No, the first game against Schalke. Weapon.
Oh yes. If you saw the opening game against Schalke, look at how they destroyed and cut through Schalke like a hot knife through butter. So
it was going to be so. I mean, massive transfer. In fact, it gives them something that they have missed since Robert Ribéry, the dual threat from the flanks. Of course, they've been trying to integrate Coman into being the main man for the team, extending him with Perisic for most of last season. But it was Gnabry that we know to be the man, go-to man if Lewandowski wasn't scoring, and not the other two that I already mentioned. Now Perisic has moved on, gone back to the parent club Inter. Koeman is still there, but he's not looking like the man that they can start games. Now Sané has come in, and he's a player that we know that he gave City a huge advantage, particularly when he stayed fit for his time in City. He was the man they could count on for the goals, always double figures, goals and assists throughout his time there, particularly when he was fit. So that's in 2 of the 3 seasons that he stayed. So he was a big deal, and I think he gives Bayern such a huge advantage, at least particularly for the league. I still personally also think, however, that the team is quite short in certain key areas. Key elements, players that played more than 35 games, if not started more than 35 games, have left the team in their treble-winning campaign. That's Thiago Alcantara, of course, who we already mentioned, has moved on to Liverpool to improve that side, giving them a huge advantage over City, in my opinion. And Perisic, who has returned to Inter, probably to now be tried as a left wing back, a position he's not naturally used to, but seems to have adapted well enough to convince Inter and Conte to give him a chance there. So I believe that leaves Bayern with 2 key players short in general. Don't forget that last season they had that long-term injury to Niklas Süle before Boateng found a way to re-establish himself as a starting centre-back. But that doesn't mean that he's the first choice. So that still means that they need another man in centre-back. That's noting that Alaba is the one who partners whoever starts between Süle and Boateng. So they still need another centre-back and maybe another additional midfielder to also replace Thiago that has left. It's been long that we saw Tolisso play and consistently. I don't think they want to rely on Kimmich and Goretzka. They won't stay fit all season. Same for the front 3. If you want to also remember, Sané has had this long-term injury twice in the last 18 months. Not wishing him any evil. I do hope he stays fit, but then you don't bank on that for a player coming on from these serious long-term injuries and who hasn't played for so many games in the past 18 months. So Bayern still have some transfer business to do, but supporting you 100%, Sané gives them a huge dimension. The dual threat from the both sides of the flanks. They can now go all firing again, and Lewandowski is probably going to get even more chances to score more goals and probably maybe match the season he had last, which should be enough to give them some shouts for the Ballon d'Or discussion.
Well, it is really heavy news. This rain is it's quite shocking, so you hear it in the background. Please bear with us. There's really nothing I can do about it raining. Let's come to Italy. Aside Inter finally getting Alexis Sanchez on a permanent deal, that just ensures that there's a form of continuity in the squad. I think the major piece of transfer business, the key transfer business for me, has to be between the 2 top teams that I think should finish either first or second. First and foremost, I'm looking at this from the first game of the season that I saw. For Juventus, Winston McKennie and Kulusevski. Now, Kulusevski, we already know what he could. We saw what he could do from last season, right? But Winston McKennie, coming from a struggling Schalke, coming to Juventus, had a really good game in his first game against Sampdoria last week, and I think it's a really, really, really key piece of business for Juventus.
I agree with you. I mean, it was a massive piece of business. Pirlo himself, their coach, said he wants to model his side around the very first Juve of the last 9 seasons, which is the Conte's Juve. Of course, he's part of the guys that started that new Juve that have dominated Italy for 9 straight seasons, now winning the 9 straight Scudetti. McKennie brings almost the Vidal factor. Vidal coming in from Bayer Leverkusen, then young player, had all the energy, who charge down, win balls, play useful passing, not just winning ball and giving it to anybody near him, but win ball and also be useful with the ball and things like that. So he brings that new energy, which they seem to lack last season, where they tried more to control games, and it's not their best attributes, knowing the midfield combinations that they could afford. That's last season, Rabiot, Bentancur, and Pjanic playing most of the time. He was not the type that would, while they have the ability to keep the ball, he wasn't it's more of the type you would call steroid possession. as it were. But McKinney brings a new dimension now, a lot of energy to his play. So I like the of McKinney, and I still do think that he will give them some sort of the Vidal factor. Of course, he's not a player of similar level, definitely, but then that energy is something that they need in the field. But the other transfer I will mention for that team, Juve, will be the one that they didn't do, which is not moving on Ramsey. I believe it will prove to be a significant piece of business because Ramsey is a quality player with a coach who can trust him and give him time. He's one of those you can rely on to get in terms of goal contribution from midfield. Staying fit, he will give Juve and probably a huge advantage in their attempt to make history, winning 10 straight Scudetti.
From your perspective, which other key transfers caught your eye across Syria?
Okay, across Europe. Before leaving Italy, I have to still go to Inter. You already mentioned the transfer that you. Okay. In Serie A, let me still stay with Inter just for a few minutes. I think I already talked about how he's the perfect match for Conte, and that Hakimi, I believe, is going to be the most important transfer in Inter's time post-treble. He will be that massive. They need Conte's lives to play. We saw what he did with Victor Moses at Chelsea in his first title-winning campaign. And I think Hakimi is even a player of a lot higher level. So they're going to get both speed and precision in terms of his balls into the front two. So they will enjoy Hakimi a lot. I don't think Vidal will be such a huge factor for Inter. Inter have gone this route many times in recent years. As one of my key friends, Elder, will always add. He said all these goals, that's back in the days, but it hasn't proven to be the case for Inter in particular. They've done this type of business before. Most recent one being Godin that they got for free, which many people thought would make them the most solid defense in Europe. But we saw Godin struggle to find space in the team for most of the season until Skriniar started struggling and they had to try him again on the right side of the back three. So he didn't work out for Inter. It goes back even to the days of Vidic. They've done this year after year, trying to bring in a player they will think is slightly old but can bring experience and maybe stability and all that. Nainggolan is another example. He wasn't as old as the other two I mentioned when he joined, but he was also in decline and he didn't prove to be the right transfer. Vidal may not follow exactly the same trend, but he won't bring in the old Vidal that you saw in his early years in Papa or anything near the one we saw at Juve, but he still brings something. So for me, the big transfer for Inter will remain Hakimi. I believe he brings exactly what they need to become a really deadly side. They can attack you now, and they can also sit deep and have that huge outlet to get to your opposition box very quickly. For the rest of the league, the transfer that makes sense to me that I believe keeps them in discussion for an attempt at top four is Dzeko stayed at Roma. He was close to being moved on to Juve. We know that the transfer has been discussed extensively, similar to what happened last summer where he was supposed to move to Inter and then it never materialized. It's also the same story again this season. It looked like a done deal for most of the time. And in fact, they didn't play him last weekend because of that, to avoid risking any injury. That's a way to Verona. But then that transfer has fallen through, and there is now confirmation that he will stay with Roma. I think that gives Roma a huge hand. Without Dzeko as the focal point, I don't know where their goals and general forward play will come from. So Dzeko helps that team and makes them look better than they are. I think with him there, Fonseca and Roma can at least hope that they can stay and attempt for top four till late in the season if the other guys particularly falter. So I think that's a big transfer that didn't happen that I think will be a big factor for this season, Yemi.
Okay, so let's move very quickly to the Premier League. Last week we had an average of 4 goals a game last week in the Premier League, and we're asking, is this a one-off or is it due to any tactical change? If you ask me, I think it's just a one-off. We'll have to see what this week pretends. Manchester United, Brighton kick off any moment from now. Who knows? If you get a scoreline like the opening game from last week, then maybe we can say something is going on. But I think it's a one-off.
Something is going on, yeah.
Tactical change. I don't say anything of the tactical nature that affected the goals explosion.
The results. I agree with you. I mean, in fact, the statistics on expected goals will show that most of the teams overperformed, and most of the players too overperformed the expected goals. So, meaning that more goals were scored than should have been scored. So that doesn't suggest that it's a trend that we will see continue in general. So that I think the teams will find their usual average number of goals again coming into this year. And having seen the number of goals we saw last year, we also expect certain teams, or even most teams, to be a little more cautious in their approach to avoid going so many goals down. So you won't see as many goals, my prediction, for this weekend and beyond that.
Well, for all the Premier League made so much noise about the number of goals he scored last game week, in certain Serie A also at some point averaged over 4 goals per game. Sometime after the lockdown, one of the last 3 or 4 games of the season, game weeks of the season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not such a big deal anyway. Um, let's go to the games for this weekend. Let's start and stay at the Premier League. The big game this weekend is without a doubt Liverpool hosting Arsenal. So, where do you think that will tilt?
Huge game, Yemi, because we know what happened when Liverpool faced them in the Community Shield, and how Arsenal have seemingly transformed, not seemingly, really obviously transformed in terms of their performance against the big sides. They used to be their
To a negative
weakness.
team.
Yeah, exactly. So now they have found a way to play the big sides, and it seems to be working for them in general. Yemi, you can call it negative, you can call it being too cautious, you can call it being on us now to
You can call it
play the way they
pragmatic.
play, but it's working. I mean, it's working, and I think they will stick to that because they have enough people now. I mean, if you have the forward line of a Willian, a Lacazette, and an Aubameyang, they have the pace, the precision to be able to get the goals on the break. So, I mean, nothing stops them from sitting deep and hoping for the best on the counter and maybe in set pick situations. I think that's what we'll see this weekend. And on the other hand, Liverpool will also be trying to make the statement. A lot of people are saying that they don't expect them to match the levels of last season. I do not expect them to do same, but they seem to be hungry to show that they can, and we will see them try to use this game, the first big one, to also show that they are at that top level and that they are still the same Liverpool to be feared and not the one to be attacked. So it should be an interesting game. There will be goals. The teams will both be cautious, but then the quality they have up front means that the attackers will probably have it over the defenders on this one. So I expect at least both teams to score for the guys that like their own team.
You know, it's amazing that Arsenal have found a way to kind of play pragmatically. A lot of people who used to criticize certain teams for doing that, I would love to hear Arsenal fans say they don't like the way their team is playing now because they are winning.
Yeah.
Let me take a comment. We have Oga Priye, an avid contributor and reviewer on this show, says Arsenal to shock the world on Monday. Please write it down. Oga Priye, as you see me now, I'm writing it down. Let's go to
It won't be a crazy shock. I mean, going by their recent results against the big sides, that they've gone through everybody in recent since Arteta came in. So they look like a team who believe themselves. His pre-game conference, he said the same thing. They have to go in there showing that they believe they can do it. And I think in their camp, they think they can do it. Now they have the game set up to be able to match the big sides. And will they be able to do it on Sunday or rather Monday is a different ball game. But that's a team that has shown that they have the capacity now within the squad, the belief to get a result on grounds like Anfield. So it won't be overly shocking if they manage that again.
Okay, let's go to the Serie A. The big game this weekend. Well, we have two big games. Depending on which side of the divide you belong to. Inter will play their first game of the season at home to Fiorentina. I say big game because, hey, Fiorentina won their first game of the season, and this is Inter's first game. Will Conte have any excuses of no preseason, Theo?
No excuse will be acceptable. They tried playing it down in their conference. That's him and Morata, the CEO spot, trying to say that the club is not mandated, and the team rather, not mandated to win or bring home the Scudetto. Well, no team is mandated, not even Bayern, to bring in the trophy. But as they rightly said, they have the obligation as a club of the size of Inter to attempt to go all the way. But truly, they don't have any excuse in not going all the way this year. They did great job last season. You can only expect them to do better, knowing that most of the transfer desires were met. He's the one that says he doesn't want the youngsters. He doesn't want to teach Kumbula and Tonali and turn them into champions where there is an opportunity to win now. They already have those class of youngsters and better in the squad, and he decided to go for the experience of Kolarov and the experience of Kolarov. Yeah. So I believe they have to start well. They are at home to Fiorentina, who are a decent side, a well-drilled side. Since he actually took over, they don't score many goals now, but they're even more tactically balanced. I think they will cause Inter some troubles. A few bad blood, you would think. Christian Birahi, who had a decent season with Inter on loan, in that swap loan deal with Dalbert, and both sides couldn't extend it. He is now the starting left back, wing back for Fiorentina. By the way, the two sides play a similar formation, sempre 5-2. Same energy down the flanks. Federico Chiesa is the one on the right-hand side. He will be going against probably Perisic from all the predicted lineups we have seen. It suggests Perisic is probably going to get the nod over Ashley Young. So it will be interesting to see how the two natural wingers will fare being wing backs in this particular occasion and trying to stop themselves. Hakimi will start on the right without a doubt. There is no, but I'm talking of the left wing back row where Perisic is likely going to start there, and that will be the right side for Fiorentina where Chiesa he will be competing directly against Chiesa. It should be an interesting time.
Another big game is Roma hosting Juventus, and I'm sure Edin Dzeko will be looking forward to that
for the Dzeko factor. I look forward to it. I know he will want to make some statements. He knows he was made a second option when the deal wasn't looking like it could be finalized. Of course, we know what happened was, or rather from gathered information, Roma were trying to finalize the deal for Milic from Napoli, but the deal didn't go through, and that meant they had to hold on to their agreed deal with Juve for Dzeko. Dzeko will also want to show himself. He's typical with players. I mean, we saw Nainggolan when he came to the San Siro last year with Cagliari in the Coppa Italia, where he's trying to show that why did you guys let me go for so cheap? He did his stuff talking on the pitch and even off the pitch, and you would think that Dzeko will be very willing to, show something in this game. And again, that's why I said he's one of the transfers that I believe will be a significant factor. Him in this game gives it entirely different dynamics and picture for me, and I give Roma a huge chance of at least getting a draw from this one. Without Dzeko, I won't be thinking this. That's how big he's staying in Roma is.
Let's go to Germany. The big game is Hoffenheim hosting Bayern Munich. So how do you see that going? Hoffenheim had a good result last week. They have Andre Kramaric, who is in pretty good form.
He has been in good form
from last season
now.
And has brought it into this season.
Yeah, exactly. They're a very good scoring team. Just maybe Bayern has a bit too much for the rest of the league now. It is difficult to see him really going, beating this Bayern or getting anything out of this game against the machine that is Bayern Munich.
And lastly, in the Bundesliga, the other big game is Leverkusen versus RB Leipzig.
That's another show of attacking football. If you don't watch German league a lot, or you wonder what the fuse is about in terms of German football, without the fans, you can see the quality of this league by watching that particular game. I believe they will give us a good showing as usual. We know Peter Bosz's side, Leverkusen, loves to play their sweet attacking football. They've lost their key man, their captain Kai Havertz, but that doesn't overall drop the quality of the side. Same with Leipzig, who lost their key goal scorer in Timo Werner, both now at Chelsea in Premier League. But the both sides still have a significant attacking talent to play the way they have played most of last season.
Hello, Chu, are you there? Chu, I think I lost Chu there. Hello, Chu, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you again. Sorry, network rain.
Yeah.
But it's still good.
I want us to try and finish very quickly.
Yes, please. That would help.
There's feedback coming from you.
There's what?
Feedback.
What do you mean feedback?
I can hear myself.
Oh, okay. More than you can hear me. Okay. Okay, let me try and adjust something. Sorry, it's been
Yeah, it's the rain. I know. Yeah, I think it's fine. Let me take another comment from Oga Priye. Says Inter Milan should give a serious chase for the Serie A title. No excuses from Conte this season. In fact, I'll be very, very, very angry if Conte makes any nonsense excuses this season because I think he has been supported. He has been
excuse
backed
is tenable. It's in
thoroughly.
his hands
No
to be able to stop
excuses.
this Juve. None is acceptable. None.
Let's make our final stop
Able to stop
in La Liga,
that is-
and that's where we'll end the show today. The two big games are Real Betis hosting Real Madrid and Barcelona hosting
massive,
Villarreal. Two big games.
massive, Yemi. Two huge games, and they will be a good advert for the league and a good measure for these top two sides. They are playing really good sides. I like Betis. What I saw, of course, we know Manuel Pellegrini. We know how his teams play. We saw his Malaga side back in the days while he was there. You saw his City side. He's a very good coach. He loves playing good football with a lot of control. So we will see that again from Betis, which is normally, even without him, a decent side with decent, reliable players in their ranks. So we expect a good fight against Real Madrid. It won't be any easy for Real Madrid today. And similar thing for Villarreal. They have found a way to play. Our own Chukwueze is massive, playing really good football. You know, the guys you mentioned that moved on from Valencia, that's Coquelin and the former Valencia captain Pareo, will add that control in midfield for Villarreal, a team that we know for being good with control. And then the Spanish striker who is pushing to be the number one now, that's Gerard Moreno, will be trying to get on the goals to also advance his push to being the main guy, the go-to guy for Euro. Everybody is fighting for that spot. As I said, there's in the past show, nobody is a position that is open to anybody who has the best of seasons this year. And what other game will he have, or a better opportunity to show that he's developed into the go-to man than trying to punish in this one. It will be difficult, personal opinion, for both Barcelona and Real Madrid to win this particular weekend. That's really what I think. Those two sides are good, well drilled, decent enough, and can punish these two teams who seem to be in some sort of transition this season. Really.
Okay, so let me call the games that we have previewed today. I start with Barca Villarreal. I think that will be over 2.5. I think there'll be goals in it. Barca still haven't sorted out their defense.
Draw looks possible. I don't think Villarreal will lose. So if that means a draw, then that's a possibility in my head.
They can play 2-2 draw for all I care. Yep. And that will be over 2.5. Leverkusen hosting RB Leipzig should have goals as well. That should have another over 2.5. Bayern
you can go riskier by going over 1.5 first half. There will be goals in that one. Yeah.
Bayern going away to Hoffenheim, I think they will have goals in that one again. Both teams are scoring a lot of goals. Another over 2.5. Liverpool, Arsenal, like you said, I think both teams will score. So there's a go in that one. Or if you want to be safe, you can do go or over 2.5 in that one. Inter, I think Inter and Fiorentina have goals in them, especially Inter with Lukaku and Lautaro Martinez. So I think that will be over 2.5. Juventus, because they are going away and you're not really sure the kind of Roma you're going to get. I remember Roma failed to score last week.
With Dzeko is a huge Roma, really. I won't advise you to put your money on a straight win for Juve, really.
I'm putting it over 1.5 for this one, over 1.5. Real Madrid going to Real Betis, I'm also playing over 2.5 on that one. So
I will do win or draw for the home side.
For Real Betis.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I will advise.
So is pushing for a major upset. Real Betis over.
In La Liga, yes. The top two, I don't think they will win this weekend.
Let me take note of that. Theo has spoken. All right, guys. Sorry for the feedback. Sorry for the the noise in the background. Like I said, it's raining cats and dogs here in Lagos, Nigeria, and we just have to, like they say, the show must go on. Final comment from Oga Priye. Real Madrid for me wasn't convincing last weekend. I wait to see tonight's game. It says I agree with you on the La Liga predictions for the weekend. All right, guys.
Okay, so
Thank
yeah,
you very
thank you for
much
your comments.
for joining us. Thank you for your comments and thank you for watching. Tio, will you still be able to do your laundry at this time with this rain?
No, already done. I told you it was tennis morning and laundry morning. Both already done.
All right. So we go back and enjoy the football for the weekend. Hopefully the signal returns. I'm looking at my TV and the signal is off because
I already know what to expect, so I'm not.
I'm going to switch. I'm switching online to watch the games. All right, Tio.
It should be a good one. We didn't discuss that match, and it should be an interesting one. Again, I don't expect Brighton to win. Okay, they're playing 2 games. One Carabao Cup midweek, both sides again.
Yeah.
Brighton will win one of them. Either they win this one or they win Wednesday against my same opponents, Carabao Cup. They will get a win in one of the legs.
Funny thing is, I don't expect Manchester United to win today. So that's about it. That's our show. Make sure you join me on Monday for gaming today. And on Tuesday, look out for my team of the week, both for Europe and the Premier League, as well as on Friday. On Monday also, look out for my Moped from the weekend. It's just another one I've just started, so look out for it. We pick out the poor performance of the weekend. And of course, I give the people the opportunity to vote for their Moped from the weekend. And on Friday, as usual, it's football and AI. Yesterday, we had a teenager come up against the AI. So we're waiting to see what the results will be like. Tio, have a good weekend, bro.
Thank you so much, Amy. Enjoy yours.
All right, guys. That's our show. Bye for now.
Okay.